Have you ever walked into a house, someone's house, and felt something different without anyone saying a word to you? It wasn't the decor, it wasn't the lighting, it was something in the air, something unseen, but felt in your chest from the very first moment. Your body relaxes, your breathing slows down without you deciding to do so, and there is a hard-to-describe feeling that you are safe in that place, as if the noise inside you just turned itself off. Do you remember it? That house. And you also remember the opposite. Houses where something put you on guard right from the door for no visible reason, with nothing you could point to. Something just wasn't right there. Your body knew it before your mind did. Always. Jesus knew exactly why that happens. He knew what makes a space feel clean or heavy, and he knew how to create it. Not with words, not with a complex ritual, but with something prepared with the hands applied to the body, and that tonight you can have too. In this video, you will understand what changes the air in a place, why you feel it before understanding anything. You will learn what perfume Jesus used in his most important moments and why that particular scent stops what he called the Archons, the forces that interrupt your connection right when you need it most. And you will learn how to prepare it today in your home without special materials. But first, you need to hear what lies behind it, because without that, what you have tonight will be nothing more than a pleasant smell. It was past midnight in Gethsemane. Jesus was alone among the olive trees. The apostles were sleeping a few steps away, and in that silence, Jesus slowly rubbed something between his palms. A dense, warm, ancient aroma spread through the trees. One of his disciples, who couldn't sleep, who had been carrying noise inside for hours, approached without saying a word, sat down, and without explanation, without words, something changed in the air around him. The same noise as before, but no longer so close, no longer so loud. Put your hand on your chest right now, just for a moment. Feel if something in you already recognizes what we are talking about, not as an idea, but as something you have already experienced. Because that house where you felt safe, that was no coincidence. Someone knew something, and Jesus taught it. Let's go back to that night. Jesus was crushing something between his hands, small yellowish and brown pieces, dry, slightly sticky, with an intense aroma. He rubbed his palms together and the smell spread immediately. It filled everything. It softened the cold of the night. The breeze passing through the olive trees scattered it even further. Jesus closed his eyes for a moment, took a deep breath, and continued. For him, this was not something strange. Before a heavy moment, before an important teaching, before a difficult encounter, at the beginning of a charged night, he always prepared that aroma. None of the apostles had fully seen it, because Jesus did this in solitude. In the Gnostic teaching, in the teaching that Jesus shared only with his closest circle, an invisible force operating in this world is described. That force is called an Archon. The Archon is the force that keeps you disconnected from your divine source that fills your mind with endless noise. That at the exact moment you want to calm down, introduces anguish or doubt into you. A voice that says, "This isn't going to work." It is not an enemy, it is a system. And that system knows very well the moment when it is most effective. Right when you want to connect, you know what I'm talking about. You sit down to pray and thoughts flow nonstop. You think about something someone said to you. You plan what you will do tomorrow. Your attention scatters and you try to gather it. But when you do, it scatters again. Or on the contrary, a silence arrives, a true silence. But within that silence, a weight descends, something akin to guilt, something akin to, "I don't deserve this." And before the prayer is over, your mind is already gone. Jesus knew this. He had experienced it himself when he sat at night in Gethsemane. On that threshold where he tried to reach connection, the mind would sometimes scatter. A voice, a weight, an anguish, and he recognized that weight. It wasn't his voice. It was the voice of that system that wanted to cut the connection, and to deactivate that system, he used something, an aroma. Neurologists know something. Smell travels a different path in the brain than all the other senses. Signals arriving through the eyes, ears, or skin pass first through the thalamus. They are interpreted, filtered, evaluated. But smell goes directly to the limbic system, to the center of memory, to the center of emotions, without any filter, without any waiting time. as if it entered through the back door and everything inside was already prepared. This is something science discovered in the last century, something Jesus knew 2,000 years ago. And we must ask, that aroma in your grandmother's house, that very particular smell, why does it still transport you to another place? You don't need to stop. You don't need to plan it. The smell arrives and you are already there. A certain smell in a hospital hallway. Why does it tighten your chest with just one breath? The incense of the church takes you to another dimension of time before you can even think. Why? Brain researchers call it olfactory memory and move on to the next topic. But you know where that smell takes you. You know that place was real. Jesus knew why. And knowingly, deliberately, with his own hands, he used that door. Put your hand over your heart right now, just for an instant. Do you feel that rhythm under your palm? That rhythm was there before you started this video. And if right now there is something inside you wondering what that plant is, that curiosity is no coincidence. That plant is frankincense, boswellia, or in Hebrew, lavona. It appears dozens of times in the Old Testament. It was used in temple rituals, yes, but long before the temple, it had a much more personal, much more direct use. In the Essene tradition, in that community that prepared the ground where Jesus grew up, frankincense was an inseparable part of morning and evening silence practices, not for the prayer itself, but for before the prayer. Not to quiet the noise of the mind, but to anticipate that noise. Burning frankincense worked as a door to silence, and that door was in the hands of the individual, not the institution. That is exactly why it was eliminated. Burning incense in the temple was allowed because the temple was under the control of the institution. Who did it? When? In what quantity? That was decided by the institution. But for you to open that same door in your own home with your own hands, on your own, meant making the institution unnecessary. The middleman was no longer needed. The building was no longer needed. The priest was no longer needed. Just you, that aroma, and that intention. Think about it for a moment. What sustains an institution? The belief that you cannot do without it. The church did not hide this knowledge. It took a practice that already existed from the hands of the common man, brought it inside the institution, and kept it there. So when you wanted to approach that door, you had to pass through the door of the institution. Something like that would never be taught. Today, researchers know this about frankincense. The boswellic acid released into the air when burning the resin produces a measurable effect on the regions of the brain related to anxiety and stress. Some neurological studies show that this compound acts as a mood regulator. The exact mechanism has not yet been fully clarified, but one thing is certain: something happens, something reproducible, measurable, but inexplicable. Doctors record it and say, more research is required, and move on. But you didn't learn this in a laboratory. When your grandmother or your mother prepared that aroma, when you walked into that room, something changed inside you without thinking. One breath and you are already in another place. The mind stopped. For an instant, only that smell existed, and you. There was a certain moment in your life, in an unexpected instant, that aroma arrived and the noise quieted down. You didn't explain it. You didn't need to explain it because it was happening. Jesus knew it and used it as a tool, consciously, deliberately. Take a step back now, because what will make this knowledge real is not a fact. It is a scene. John, the youngest of Jesus' apostles, couldn't sleep one night. His mind wouldn't stop. His thoughts wouldn't cease. A noise flowed inside him without pause. He had tried to pray, but he couldn't. He had gathered the words, but the words hadn't gone anywhere. He felt he had spoken into the void. And that feeling, the feeling of praying without getting anywhere, he had known for a long time. But that night it weighed heavier than usual. That feeling is familiar to you. Jesus wasn't sleeping that night. He was sitting near the fire. John sat next to him in silence, said nothing, just sat. And Jesus felt that he had sat there. But he didn't ask. He didn't explain anything. He just took a small vessel, put some pieces of resin inside. The vessel was moved closer to the edge of the fire. The aroma began to spread slowly within minutes. They waited. They didn't speak at all. The noise inside John, as the minutes passed, began to change slowly. It didn't disappear entirely, but it softened as if someone had turned down the volume of a voice coming from afar. The thoughts were still there, but they were no longer so loud, no longer so close. A little space had opened up between them, and in that space he could breathe. And Jesus said, "The mind is the place the Archons like the most. The door through which they enter most easily is noise. But the aroma comes before the noise. The aroma passes through the body, and the body is closed to noise." John asked, "Why is the body different?" Jesus looked at the fire. The resin was slowly melting. The aroma was intensifying. A moment passed, then he said, "The body lives in today. The mind lives everywhere. If you enter from the body, you enter into today. And when you enter into today, the noise is left behind. Noise can only exist in the past and in the future. In the present, it has nowhere to live." John carried that phrase with him all his life and never passed it on to a crowd, because this knowledge was transmitted to those who could carry it. Not everyone could. This was what Jesus did not tell the great crowds, because what was told to the great crowds passed through the institution, and what passed through the institution changed. Sometimes something was taken away from it. Sometimes it acquired a completely different meaning. But what was transmitted that night by the fire and silence remained unchanged. Straighten your spine right now, just a little more. That small movement, that single movement, sends a different signal to your brain. Attention, preparation. The body knows before the mind. And Jesus always told his disciples to start with the body. The mind is the most conditioned place. Go there last. Start with the body. The body is more honest. Now I am going to tell you exactly how to do this practice. Tonight in your home, you already have everything you need. Frankincense resin or frankincense essential oil. Both are easily found in pharmacies, herbal shops, or online. If you don't have any at home right now, don't worry, there is an alternative. I'll tell you that too. First step, take a small container, anything that can withstand heat, a ceramic bowl, an old mug, works perfectly. Put a few drops of frankincense oil or a small piece of resin inside. Heat it slowly over a small candle or a tea light. You don't need a special incense burner. Container, heat, plant. That is enough. In 5 minutes, the aroma begins to spread. Second step, when the aroma begins to spread, sit down. Back straight, eyes closed, and just smell. Inhale that aroma deeply and slowly. Your mind will scatter. That is normal and expected. Don't judge it. Every time it happens, simply return to the place where the aroma is. The aroma will be waiting for you there every time you return. 5 minutes is enough. The body goes somewhere in that time. Third step, from that inner silence, a single phrase, not out loud, from within. The words don't need to be perfect. There just needs to be an intention. This connection is mine and nothing can cut it. Tonight before sleeping, 3 steps. If you don't have frankincense oil or resin right now, fresh or dried rosemary from your kitchen, a bay leaf crushed under a knife, even fresh thyme. These plants were also used in Old Testament times in purification and preparation rituals. They are not perfect, but they are enough to start. Because what matters is not the plant, what matters is the intention and the body. The first night, perhaps only silence will arrive. Perhaps nothing will be felt. That is normal and expected. From the second or third night, some people notice something. Sleep comes easier. That first second upon waking up in the morning, that instant when your eyes open before thoughts begin, is a little lighter, as if something had settled inside. Small, but it's there. At the end of the first week, something different happens. The aroma begins to work as a door. The moment you start heating the oil or resin, your mind automatically switches to that mode. You no longer need to make any effort. The body has learned this transition, and what it learns, it does not forget. At the end of the first month, some people experience something completely different. Anguish arrives, but it doesn't stick. A thought passes, but you don't carry it. A word arrives, but it doesn't stay inside, as if a filter had been installed. The noise keeps coming, but it no longer expands everywhere. And the ones who first notice this change are often not you, but those around you. "What happened to you?" they say. It's hard to explain because there is nothing visible. Nothing has changed on the outside. Something changed on the inside. This is what Jesus described to John 2,000 years ago. The body lives in today. The body is closed to noise. If you enter from the body, you enter into today. And when you enter into today, everything that belongs to the Archon is left behind. Touch your forehead now for an instant, just with your fingertips, and feel there is a warmth under the skin. That warmth is here with you right now. This body can teach you something tonight if the mind allows it. After doing this practice, you will hear a voice inside you. How simple was this? How can a smell change anything? Or a more subtle version, this was a superstition, or the one heard most often. The church didn't teach this, so it must be made up. That voice is not yours. That voice belongs to those who do not want you to establish exactly this connection. And pay attention, it speaks right at the moment when you are closest to doing this practice. Because if the door is real, a lock is put on it. Nobody puts a lock on a door that isn't real. If that voice comes out strong after listening to this practice, that is a sign that the practice is going to work. Resistance is exerted on what moves forward, not on what is useless. Listen to that voice. Don't judge it and do the practice anyway. Now I need to tell you something. When we talk about Jesus' personal rituals, frankincense was not the only thing he used. It was not the most known or the most secret, but it was the most direct because the aroma works with the body and the body is the territory the institution cannot reach. But Jesus made a different preparation at certain times of the year, especially before Passover. In that preparation, there was something that today is in everyone's kitchen, something that seems completely ordinary, but the way Jesus used it and exactly what he used it for, that was never transmitted. The church also kept this knowledge. Understanding why they kept it is actually much easier than understanding what that substance was, because that substance used in that way granted the house protection and preparation without intermediaries. And that recreated the same problem, making the institution unnecessary. Next time we will go there. Meanwhile, start tonight, because this connection is yours. It has always been yours. All it needed was a door. If anything said here resonated with you, leave it in the comment box, even if it's just a single word. What did you feel? Where did you pause? What moment held you? You don't need to write much, but if something moved inside you, getting it out makes it more real. And if there is someone in your life who feels these things from the inside, but has never been able to name them, send them this video in silence. Sometimes the greatest gift is showing a door. If this story changed your way of seeing the elements around you and your connection with the sacred, subscribe and like our channel. We are unearthing the history and knowledge they tried to bury. Cultivate your present and sow your future. The next treasure of wisdom will open very soon for you.